Hi, my name's Sean Shaler. This is my friend Chris Ford, aka The Objective Geek, and we are here today to talk about The Storm, which is from Book 1, Water, Episode 12, and it is a very unusual episode, but I know that somebody is excited for it. Chris?
Yeah, it's a good episode. It is The Storm, which is I think on a lot of people's high list. We'll see if it's on either one of ours.
We will see if it's on either one of ours. I'm so excited. I just want to skip all the regular episode and just get to the end where we talk about our feelings. But that's all right. We'll go through the normal steps. That's all right. But before we get to talking about it, just a little bit of news and nonsense is that you have a couple new movie reviews up since last. It's been 2 or 3 weeks since our last one, and you got a couple new movie reviews up. So go check those out, including Bohemian Rhapsody, which it sounds
Yep.
like you enjoyed, and I'm a little jealous. I would say that all the haters, not that there's tons of them, like it's been receiving good enough reviews, but most of the
Yeah.
dislike comes from people that I think probably went in with the wrong expectations,
Yes.
or people that just didn't
Yeah, and
like
I think
Queen, and then those people shouldn't see that movie.
who are those people?
Yeah. Also, to be totally fair, I don't think it's intended to be completely factual. There's dramatization and fiction involved, as there is with any movie of that type. So yeah, I think some
Yeah.
people went in with the wrong expectations. But go watch Chris's movie reviews. Those are the Objective Geek reviews on YouTube. Chris, Game of Thrones. We are going to finish it. We are halfway through episode 6, sorry, season 6, not episode 6, season 6. But I gotta admit, I'm getting a little bored. Like, there's so much drama,
Uh,
there's so much stuff that it's sort of desensitized to me. Like, now anything can happen. I'm just like, whatever. I don't even care anymore. Like it, I don't.
I think season 6 is where it kind of lulls a little bit.
It
But
does a
man,
little
season
bit. It's still
oh
it's
wait,
still very good storytelling.
well, season 7 is the most recent season, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's the last one on Voodoo, at
Um,
least. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
there's nothing
yeah,
wrong
season
with it.
6 lulls a little bit there. Season 7 is amazing. I love season 7.
I just there's so much. I don't even. It's not even fair to call them plot twists because it's like that's the whole show is built on these things, and then you kill these new characters and you add these new characters, you add these new plots, these new conflicts, but so fast and furious that at least it kind of has lost its luster. But we're still gonna watch it. We're still enjoying it. But I think maybe I just don't really have a flair for drama in my soul, and
The
that's
thing is, I
probably
think
part of it.
I think it goes like I think Game of Thrones starts off being kind of trying to get a reaction out of people, either through the like all that sexual stuff in the beginning. Like that first episode is
This
just every other
the
scene
first
is a
episode is
sex
just
scene.
boobs. That's the whole episode.
Yeah, it is.
Just boobs.
And then I think they try and get you with like shock factor of like, oh, this person died and this person died. And I think later into the seasons they start getting to the story aspect of it. Like there's this like it's cross between like very explicit things and and pushing the story forward like as the seasons go on. Like story is kind of in the background. I feel like in maybe the first couple of seasons, and boobs and grotesque stuff and shock factor things are higher up, and then that goes down while story goes up. Like the last season, I think maybe for the whole entire season there might have been only like I don't know 8 nudity scenes.
I thought you were gonna
Which
give a boob count, but yeah, that's the same thing.
yeah,
um, it is
I'm not that detailed in it.
it
I've only
is
seen it
yeah.
once.
It's great storytelling. I don't wanna bash it. It's very exciting. I can see why it keeps other people's interests, but I gotta be honest, I'm just about ready to move on. But well, it's all right. And then finally, Batman vs. TMNT. I just started on that second volume that you gave to me. Thank you very much, by the way. Just started. I
Yeah.
haven't gotten into it at all, but I mean, the 3 pages I've read of the first issue have been fine. Very excited to continue. I'm sorry. Do you have any news, updates, notes?
No, I've been knee deep in Avatar lately. Been watching Korra with my daughter, loving it even more. I found what my least favorite episode was, but
You mentioned
well,
that, and I don't remember it well enough. I gotta be to even make a
yeah.
guess. I don't. I have an idea, but I just don't remember episode specifics enough to have a guess. So it'll be interesting when the time comes. If we hit that episode, I'm like, yeah, that's it. That one sucks.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'll give it a try. We'll remind her down the road in 3 years when we get to that point.
Yeah, and my daughter is loving watching it. Like, she pushes me to watch like Korra. Like, can I watch Korra? Like, and then when I put her to bed, I read her a book every night. She asks if we can read. We've been reading The Search, which is it's a really great book. I might do a YouTube video over it and review and analysis over it because I'm really into it. And this is the second time I've read it, but I'm just finding a lot of nuanced things in it.
As you're reading to a child, you kind of see the way that somebody else, a very different human, sees it. Opens new perspectives. Excellent. And then I'd say, do you have any cleanup? But it's been like 3 weeks, so I would imagine it's been a while.
I have no idea. I watched this episode like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and it was the Great Divide episode, which we intentionally rushed through as almost a I
don't
want to say a joke, but we intentionally rushed through it. So not much to clean up. I did watch it. I watched the whole thing, and it was fine. So synopsis. Well, we just got through the Great Divide, both literally us getting through that episode, struggling through it. No, it's not disgustingly horrible, but it is rated appropriately. But then literally in the show, or figuratively in the show, they get through the Great Divide, and they're trekking further into the Earth Kingdom. And that brings us where we are today, which is essentially starting with Aang having bad dreams. And I'm going to go ahead and let you take it from here, and I will try to click a little bit ahead.
Yeah, so Aang is having nightmares, and these nightmares are kind of like, they're kind of like he's worried about something, or he's distraught over something, and it's about he's kind of having these nightmares because he knows he ran away, and everything, and he's just dealing with that through nightmares. Essentially dealing with that guilt. Really, it's really about guilt. And then you have Iroh and Zuko. Zuko is having some tension with people on the ship. And he kind of comes off as a spoiled brat. Like, there's clear skies, but Iroh, because he's old and stuff, he can sense that there's a storm coming.
He's feeling it in his joints, just like Grandma used to.
Mm-hmm. And he and Zuko get confronted by that. So they sense a storm coming. Aang and the team are out of money. Also, side note, you spell Iroh wrong. There's an H on the end.
Oh, there is an H. Hey, no, good call. Great. There's a correction I can't fix.
Yeah.
Oops.
So Aang wakes up with a nightmare and everything. And then the group, Aang, Katara, and Sokka, don't have any money. And so Sokka has to get a job. So random.
He's much better at getting jobs quickly than I am, that's for sure.
Yeah. Like, right when he needed a job, he got a job.
Dude didn't even spit out a resume.
He gets a job. He had a job with this old cranky man. And the old cranky man has a woman with him who he fires, or I don't know if that's his wife or something.
It is, yeah, it's
but
his
he
wife.
fires her anyway. Oh, okay.
I don't know if he fired her. I think she took a leave of absence. There was no.
Yeah, because she could also feel the storm coming.
Yes.
And then Aang says something, and the old lady says, "You should listen to the boy with the tattoos." And he's like, "Tattoos, airbending tattoos. Well, hey, you're the Avatar." And he says it kind of that way. And then Katara says, like, "Yep, that's him," as if like a matter of fact, braggy kind of way. It's like, "Well, you don't be so proud about it. You turned your back on the world."
And he
the guy
really is a curmudgeon. Whoever is doing the acting for that guy gets that old guy, that cranky old get off my lawn guy down pat.
Yeah, exactly. And he pretty much tells Aang, like, this is the first time Aang has ever been confronted by someone that, like, wasn't a Fire Nation person that was good, that told him that he was a terrible person for, not doing his job. Because he was around 100 years ago. Like, maybe he's 100-year-old. And he's like, maybe I just imagined the last 100 years of war and famine and everything.
I took that as a joke, or as just sort of hyperbole. But it's funny to think that, you know what, if Avatar Kyoshi can live to be 200 plus, maybe that guy is 100 years old and he was actually being dead serious. He's like, yeah, maybe I don't just forgot
Oh
the
yeah,
100 years of war. I didn't consider.
I
I
take
just
it as
assumed it
serious.
was.
I mean,
I just
Boomy.
assumed it was figurative language.
I mean, Boomy is Aang's age. He's
Yeah, good
112
call.
ish.
And he
And
looks pretty
so
good for
old
his age, all
people,
things considering. At least once he straightens up
yeah,
and goes all Transformer.
yeah. Um, and then Aang gets all sad and he runs away. Like Katara tries to defend him, but Aang feels that same guilt, and so he runs away. Katara says, "You're a terrible old man," and like at first I thought she was saying it kind of like comedic like, but it wasn't, and it's not helped by the net scene of Sokka coming out from the ship like, "Hey, where'd they go?" It's like your friends left you, huh? Yeah, he's like, your friends are rude. Yeah, and one time, and then the guy's like, I don't care.
I don't care.
For some reason, I just found that like Sokka's always trying to like. No one cares about Sokka. Sokka tries to explain things all the time. No one wants to hear him out.
I'm one of those guys. Sokka, you just show up.
Yeah.
I don't really want to listen to you that much. This is a good time to point out that it's hard to differentiate in hindsight between the cuts back and forth, because this is one of those episodes where it's sort of two very separate, distinct stories. So cuts back and forth a lot, and it's kind of hard to differentiate where, but happening concurrently. And so next we get to Katara does find Aang, I think is when this happens.
Yes, Aang goes to like this cave somewhere, and Katara finds him, and she says like, "Aang, you wouldn't turn your back on the world. I'm sure you had good reason." And Aang is like, "No, I did turn my back on the world." So then Aang has a flashback, and this flashback is going on at the same time that Iroh is telling the other ship crew members Zuko's past, to explain kind of why he is the way he is. So you have these dual flashbacks going on to really explain our protagonists and our antagonists, and just how really they're like this. They're just sides of the same coin, and I mean they do this all throughout the show, of showing these two separate stories that are really just destinies merging onto one another.
Hashtag deep.
So, yeah. So in Aang's flashback, it cuts to him being a kid playing games and everything. He invents the scooter ball, the air scooter,
which doesn't seem super important at the time, but turns out it kind of is a big deal in the air nomad world.
Yeah, when he did that, that's how he got his airbending tattoos.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever realized that until you told me. Like, I don't know if that manifests itself extremely obviously. But yeah, he just invented an airbending technique.
Yeah. Yeah, because to become an airbending master, you had to invent a new technique. And yeah.
That's
so
pretty
he
cool.
invents it.
Yeah.
He shows them. He shows them that's how to do it. And then, one side note here is that for a second there, I thought I stumbled upon like the first gay characters seen on screen in Avatar, because
I feel like whatever you're about to say is going to be real judgy.
No. Wait, where is that at? Where did I do? Oh, it's right there. 1 second. Reach.
So while Chris is gone, let's take a moment to admire his shelf. It's a good statue up there in the upper right corner, just above his left shoulder. It's all right, viewers. All right.
So I thought I found the first gay character in Avatar, because so in the flashback, he goes here. This is that same as that spot. All right, can you see that?
Go down and to your right just a little bit so I can. There, right there. Back left just a hair. Boom, right there.
All right, so he goes. He's in this exact same spot.
I can read the caption real quick. The air nomads were accepting of differences and embraced everyone no matter their orientation. And there you see two young male nomads, I presume, in a very sort of intimate hand-holding, kind of cuddled up position, I guess.
Yeah.
And so Aang is in
In
that
Aang's
spot.
flashback, there are two young men in that same as that spot, like that same as that spot,
No kidding.
and maybe they just found their true love there. Maybe that
Maybe
was
they
the first
found their
time they met.
misconnection, yeah. Or well, I guess
I
not
know.
really a misconnection because they found it. That's kind
Yeah,
of cool.
but this comes from the Legend of Korra comic book, where Kaya, Aang's daughter, is explaining to Korra and Asami all the different cultures and their viewpoints on same-sex relationships. But
For a minute there,
I
I
thought it
thought you
made
were
someone funny.
gonna. For a minute there, and I don't know why, just because I said you were gonna be judgy. It's actually me that's being judgy. I thought you were. I thought you were just gonna like pick a kid like that one. That one's gay. Like,
No,
I
that would
didn't know
be
where you were going with it.
terrible.
Like that one there on that air scooter, definitely. But no, hey, that's cool. I will. I did not notice those two kids
Yeah,
in that spot, but I've also not read that comic, so I'm not gonna,
yeah, yeah.
take it too hard.
I
But
mean, there are some flaws in that thinking, but I'm gonna hold on to it anyway.
it doesn't
Um,
have to. It's just
yeah.
it can
So
be. It can be a cool side note at a minimum.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, so Aang meets up with the monks, and they tell him that he's the Avatar, and they say he's the Avatar. They've known he's the Avatar since he was born because he used to play with these Avatar relics that they call them, which were just toys, but they all these toys belong to his past lives. Um, and they specifically say we usually wouldn't tell you until you're 16, until you're old enough, but we feel war is coming. And I have a random theory on how the Airbenders can sense, like, have some type of precognition.
Because they
Like,
live on
I
top
think
of
it
a
might,
hill and they can see the Fire Nation coming. Am I right?
yeah.
I nailed it. Admit
Well,
it.
sure, I guess. My theory is a lot more thoughtful.
Well,
Um,
that's fair. I haven't heard it yet, but it
but
seems like a safe assumption.
so airbenders are very spiritual. I feel like I feel like a couple of them are probably able to go into the spirit world, and with that, maybe they can converse with spirits, and spirits can probably see like, oh yeah, there's a comet that comes around like every 100 years. Firebenders get all this power, and actually Roku, we can see things like the Fire Lord killed Roku or had Roku saw Roku die because he wanted to. So maybe they can kind of like vaguely sense things.
They got some
Some of it's
intel.
that.
I can see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got some. All right, so they tell him that he's the Avatar, um, and then
They're
so then
also.
we get to Zuko.
So I think also in that same. It might be in a different one, but when the other air nomad kind of breaks into the chamber and Aang and Gyatso are playing chess or checkers, excuse me. I forget what they're playing. Pasho.
Paisho.
Thank you. It's
Yes.
chess, checkers, Pasho. It's all the same. No, they're playing Pasho, and that monk gets real accusational real quick. Gets a little crazy, and I think that's all in
Yeah,
that same
because
cutaway, but it kind of gets muddled.
yeah, it all kind of goes together.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so Aang Monkey Gyatso is Aang's not only his mentor, but he's his guardian. Like they don't have parents with the air nomads, but they do have guardians that are responsible for certain kids. And Aang and Makatsu are like best friends. But Makatsu wants Aang to have a normal childhood, to play games, to be free, which is a very airbender mentality. And so that guy he interrupts them while they're playing. He's like, "You're playing games with him? Like he should be training. He should be learning these forms." So then they go to like they dispute it. They go to like a guy who I guess is higher up than them, even though it seems like they live more in like a people kind of ruling. I don't know what that type of
Political
government is
system.
called.
Yeah, I don't either. But I see what you're trying to say.
Yeah. But apparently he has ruling in this matter. Maybe he's the responsible for like sending kids places. And so he says that, they had to be split up. And Aang overhears this, and that's when Aang decides that he's going to move away. Like Aang wasn't necessarily like pissed off at the notion of being the Avatar or the responsibility that comes with it, but he was most pissed off that they were going to separate him from the only person and people that he loved, and that made him run away and get caught up in the storm.
I think the part that gets to me about that scene is that first it's really sad, it's very emotional, but then when Aang is recounting the scene, and I know they have to for cinematic purposes, but I don't like that he's essentially recounting what happened after he had already left. I was like, you can't know how he read that. Like, what if that note just fell on the floor under the bed? Maybe Gyatso never got it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I'm like,
Yeah. I'll let it pass.
it's a cinema thing. I'll let it go. But in my state of emotion and distress at such sad news, but no, it's a very, very touching scene, and essentially, it's when you realize that like, I mean, we already know how much he cares for Gyatso, but I think at that point you realize it's not just that Gyatso is his family; it's kind of his only family, or at least up to the point where he met his new family. At least that's how I see it. But then we cut back to Zuko and Iroh's story.
Yeah, and Zuko being young, his flashback starts off no scar. He's a very hopeful young lad. He goes into the war room with his uncle. His uncle at first cautions him a little bit. He's like, "You need to be quiet. Like you can't speak up in this meeting." So goes to the war room. This general's like, "Listen, we're going to use these people as bait. Like some of them might die, whatever, but then we'll be able to take over these Earth Kingdom soldiers." And Zuko stands up and says, "No, that's not right. Those citizens love, they defend our nation with honor." Maybe it doesn't say honor. I don't know why I'm speaking so loudly now.
But he does say it very, very clearly, like, this is wrong. They're good people.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So, you start to understand where Zuko was coming from. So then, Zuko, he doesn't get challenged necessarily to the Agni Kai, but his father says, like, no, now you have to fight in Agni Kai, essentially. And Zuko just thought, oh, I'm going to fight because I spoke out against this general. I'm going to face this general. And then, they're in the Agni Kai in this, like, it's not a throne room, but it's essentially a stadium where the Agni Kais happen. It looked like that's where Agni Kais usually happen.
It's kind of like a little dojo.
High-ranking, many generals are around to watch it happen.
Including Zhao and Azula, who are just standing there, both looking real pleased with themselves. Look at Zhao. You already know that guy's a jerk, like 4 years ago or
like
whatever.
Azula, yes, father.
Is this our first Azula sighting?
Yes, and we have no idea who the heck Azula is at this point.
But when I look at her now, I'm like, oh, she's a jerk.
Yeah. And reading the search, because the search goes through like the flashbacks and stuff even more, it makes it hit home even harder.
Just want to punch Zhao's face. Look at that.
Yeah, so Zuko's ready to fight. He turns around and he has to face his father, and his father's like, "You have to fight me," essentially. And Zuko's just like, "No, father, I love you. I'm not gonna fight you." Like, Zuko thinks he's doing the right thing here of like, no, I'm not gonna disrespect my father. I'm not gonna fight him. Like, I've only had the Fire Nation's best intention in mind. And then I feel like Fire Lord Ozai, he hates Zuko, like, and that is known all, kind of throughout. Well, I guess it's not known to this point that Ozai
I don't
hates
think
Zuko,
we get that feeling at this point yet. I mean,
we don't.
We're about to feel a little worse about that relationship, but I don't know if we have a full feeling of.
But I think at first he's not even fighting him necessarily punish him. I think the Agni Kai was just so like, all right, Zuko, you have to be a man. Like, you have to stand up. Like, I don't think he's not gonna. I think if Zuko actually fought him, he wouldn't have burned him. Like, he would have fought with a lot of power, but I don't think he would have intentionally tried to burn Zuko. And you kind of see his patience. Well, not see, you can just hear it with the great acting by Mark Hamill. Just wearing thinner and thinner of
Nice
like,
plug.
yeah. And he eventually is like, "Rise, Prince Zuko." And then Zuko begs again. And then at this point, Ozai, his patience run out. He's kind of pissed. He's like, "You will learn respect, and suffering will be your teacher." One thing, I love that line. It is absolutely amazing.
Man, the way you just said it though just makes me think of like Shredder. Like it's pure Shredder right there.
Yeah, oh yeah,
It even sounds like something he would say to the turtles. Michelangelo being all disrespectful or whatever. But the point you're
it's
getting
funny
at
for
there
the
that I agree with completely is that at first it's almost just like, hey, you can say this. I know you weren't anticipating fighting your dad, but if you're gonna talk, you gotta like talk the talk, walk the walk type of deal. And then he
yes,
actually did
yeah,
expect to fight. Like you're gonna fight me. You're gonna be kind of put to shame in front of all these people, but you're gonna fight because that's part of how we do politics in the Fire Nation. And then he doesn't, and I think you're right. I think that's the part that gets him, fried.
yeah.
But
To a certain point where it's like, this is my son. I'm going to teach him a lesson.
no son of
Like
mine's
he
gonna back
can't.
down from a
I
fight.
don't raise. Yeah, a son of mine's not going to back down. Like if that was Azula. Azula would have shot lightning a long time ago.
Oh
Like she's
yeah,
not going to
absolutely.
wait.
Look at that face. She's trying to shoot it right now if she figured it out.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Um, and then you just hear this like, no, like it is kind of haunting, like in a sense of just that no that he gives out, and then you just hear fire. You're like, oh crap, that's how he got his scar. Um,
I wonder if it's
but
funny to
then
Mark Hamill for somebody else to yell no at him. Just curious.
oh yeah, then back Dante Basco, who voices Zuko, he did. I think he was actually in the room with Mark Hamill when he did some of these lines. It might not have been this one, but
I'm sure there
he
did. I'm
knew
sure those
the
jokes
he
did not go unnoticed. Yeah.
yeah, he knew the irony of the situation.
Yeah. Good. Good. I hope so.
So then that's pretty much in the flashbacks, and I absolutely love the flashbacks. I loved Zuko's way more than I loved Aang's. I feel like Aang's doesn't necessarily inform the character nearly as much as Zuko's. Like this is Zuko. This is why Zuko is so freaking hell bent on finding the Avatar. Like it has nothing to do with like Zuko hating Aang. It has nothing to do with really a Fire Nation war. It just has to do with him trying to get things to go back the way they were. And like we talked about before, but this is the first time that's mentioned in the show. Like when Iroh's telling the story, one of the crew members is like, no wonder why he's like this. Like capturing the Avatar is his way to things to return to normal. And I was like, no, things will never return to normal. But the Avatar does give Zuko hope. Like, and then right before this scene, I think Katara says you're supposed to. When Katara's talking to Aang, like she says, like you give people hope, Aang. Like it's funny how you can have the same thing mean two completely different things to people.
Yeah, I agree to an extent with the comment about the two flashbacks. I do enjoy Zuko's more, but I always probably sympathize with things more just because it's him telling it. Like it's sort of his. This is the first time he's had to make a confession. Is like, you know what? I did just run. Like I ran away as a kid. It wasn't because I was scared of the Avatar. It wasn't any of the other stuff. Just I was a kid being separated from a dad. And so there's sort of a deep confessional feel to that.
Yeah.
So I've always probably empathized with that a little bit.
I mean,
But
hey,
I enjoy the story
we
more than Zuko's background. It's a very touching moment coming into touch with Aang, I guess.
yeah. I mean, hey, we knocked him down a peg in our Avatar rankings. I think because he ran away.
That's right. He was a chicken,
Yeah.
and granted, he was like a 12-year-old chicken, so it's acceptable. But whatever. No, this is him coming to terms with
Yeah.
it, though, and that's very important to me.
So essentially, we're kind of done with our flashbacks, and the storm is coming, and the lady comes and she tells them, "Hey, the storm is coming, and they're still out at sea, and so like lightning is striking." And right at this moment, there's something visually done with Zuko that I just absolutely loved. Um, it's Zuko just like meditating in front of some fire, and it goes like Zuko flashback, but it's a flashback to just like one still scene of him. I think he was on Ember Island where his parents go. We'll learn about Ember Island later, and his dad just has a shoulder over him, and that looks like the happiest Zuko ever. Like it's before he had the scar. I think his mother might have still been
His
around.
mother was
then.
in the
Actually,
flashback, I think.
was
Wasn't
she?
she?
Okay.
Was she there as well?
I'm not sure exactly. I mean,
I should have grabbed a
he was
screenshot. I think she was there.
he was smiling,
Yeah.
so I think she was. He seemed the happiest he's ever been, and like this scene with no words at all tells a whole freaking story. Um, like it's just Zuko now. Like he is freaking depressed, and he's just hell bent on catching the Avatar. Then Zuko in the past, he's happy. Like it's just a a representation of the life that he used to have that he wants to get back, and just love that moment so much. And then
So
and then
he's meditating. Oh, well, real quick, I got to get my favorite line of the whole episode in, which is they're caught at sea. The old lady asks them if they'll help, and Aang's like, "I'll help," and Katara's like, "I'll go too." And the lady's like, "I'm staying right here."
yeah,
Just in perfect capture.
Avatar does that a lot of like old
It's
people being old people.
it's
I
kind of
think.
obvious, like maybe a little over the top, but then you remember this is like old people for kids. Like
Yeah.
I get it.
There's a
It's hilarious. It makes me laugh.
there's a scene in Legend of Korra where Mako Bolin meets their grandma, and like they're all trying to formulate a plan. His grandma just happens to be there for some reason, and they're like, "All right, I'll go here, and I'll get this person. I'll go here." And grandma's like, "I'm going to take a nap." It's just like,
This show is all
good job.
inclusive of all orientations and all races, but not all ages.
Well, no, I mean you got the old masters, so
Yeah,
and
it's
they're
all
a bunch of
right.
BAs.
Regardless,
Yeah,
I find it humorous. Well, comedy well done. Sorry, old people.
yeah. All right, so they're out in the storm, and Zuko's ship is like being struck by lightning, and then there's a helmsman being stuck, and Zuko, because you this is the part where the crew actually learns that Zuko actually does care. Like he climbs it himself and goes and saves the helmsman.
He's
Um,
about to fall out of the crow's
then at
nest
the
during the storm. Yeah,
yeah, and Zuko catches him, um, and then that kind of ends there. They kind of get over their beef. Like now, all the crew has a much greater respect for Zuko now. Onto the other side, Sokka and the old man are out on this boat, and the storm is raging. And and Sokka says like, "Yeah, I'm too young to die," and the old man says, "I'm not, but I don't want to,"
so old people are
which
killing
I
it.
love that line.
Pun
They are.
intended.
This is a
Pun intended.
yeah.
That and yeah,
Um,
great scenes. But Aang does show up and he does rescue. Not only does he rescue Sokka and the old man, but then he is also spotted. He's spotted by Zuko and the crew. And I'm
mhm.
trying to recount. It's like one of the
And
crew members asked him what he wants to do, and he actually says, "Let him go, or
just
we'll
says
catch
like
up to him
just
later."
takes a yeah just get the ship to harbor, which shows like good character. This episode has good character arcs just within the episode itself, because the crew now is like, hey, what should we do? Like they're willing and ready to go after the Avatar, because even though they just almost lost their lives, because they understand now Zuko's purpose, they have a newfound respect for him, and but Zuko also is like, no, well, let's just get everyone to safety.
Let's go to the
Like
eye of the
so now it's
storm.
like, hey, I respect you, you respect me. So like they all grew.
And Aang
And
as
then when it
well.
comes to
Aang kind of came to
Aang,
terms. Yeah.
yeah, Aang kind of gets over his guilt and a little bit. I mean, he'll always have it, and he should always have it. It's a um, defining experience for him is that guilt. But I think this episode really is our first introduction to just destiny and what role destiny plays in the show. Because once he saves the old man, one thing they go into the Avatar, Aang gets them all on top of Appa, but they still go into the water. And Aang does the same thing he did when he went to the water in the storm when he left. He did this, and but this time he gets him out of the water. He goes in the Avatar state. He gets him out of the water. He doesn't like freeze himself. So you kind of think to yourself like, all right, well, why didn't he freeze himself this time? Like to me, it's all about destiny. Like destiny made him, in a way, freeze himself in a ball of ice and wake up 100 years later. But this time, Destiny's like, no, we need you. Like,
Moving forward
so
with a
he gets them
purpose.
all. Yeah, gets them all out of the boat, and then I think that's reinforced by the old man saying, like, old man has an arc also. He's saying like, hey, if you weren't around now, I would have been dead. So thank you, Avatar. Which is, I mean, that old man represents, I think, the whole entire world. Like, yeah, there was 100 years of war and everything, but maybe Aang wasn't ready then, but now he is. Now he's ready to save the world.
Selfish people that are still alive are like, well, if he can save me now, I guess it's okay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Sorry, I'm just here to be a rabble rouser.
Uh,
Yeah, no, it's nice character arcs all across the board, except for like Sokka and Katara. You really don't get too much of either of them in this episode, but it's okay.
you get nothing
They
from
are
them this
they are
episode.
they are mechanisms in this story, just to minor vehicles to move things along.
Yeah.
Oh, too far. Well, I guess yeah, that's really the end. Is they watch Appa fly off with the crew. They sail into the eye of the storm. Everybody's safe, and that's the end of the episode. And so I
Yeah.
just want to offer a real quick plug here. There's actually a wiki devoted entirely to Avatar merchandise, and so when I was looking for other things, just to show off here, I was like, that's just an entire wiki, and it's like, well, that's kind of cool. So spent a good 20-30 minutes looking through one of the larger collections of Avatar related merchandise, and that was pretty fun. I highly recommend it. Just type
No, I probably have
Avatar
I
wiki.
probably have a top 10 collection.
A top two. Ooh, that's big words, but I believe you.
Sorry.
I could believe a top 10. I don't know. We better do a game room tour and find out for sure.
I mean, I have a statue of
It's
I have
funny
an Appa, and I
because
have a Zuko.
since you're cropped off in the actual recording, you're just looking off the side of the screen at nothing. Sorry, bad editing on my
Whatever.
part. I'll take the credit for that. But yeah, we'll have to do the full merch tour someday. Play with all the toys. Anyway, yeah, if you need to pass some time, Avatar Wiki, just Avatar merchandise. It was a lot of fun to see different weird stuff that's out there. And so with that, let's get to the good part of the show. My favorite part of these,
Yes,
and that's the ratings. Chris, would you care to start?
ratings. I feel like we should debate our ratings, but anyway.
We should
All right,
debate
so
our ratings. We should fight over our ratings. This would be a good episode to start with.
story.
No,
I
don't
gave
start
story.
with audio visual.
Audio visual. All right.
There
I
we
forgot
go.
what I gave it. 8.5. And the thing is, there wasn't like great fight scenes in there. But I love how it did the flashbacks. Um, I I like how it did the storm. Like the storm itself, I think looked nice. But the one thing that just really, and I mentioned it before, the one thing that really just boosts this score up is just that, like, freaking 6-second scene of Zuko just meditating. Like, it told, just through the audio and the visual, told such a story. Like, it went from the present, which was like Zuko was tormented, and the score was like ominous, to the past, which is on a beach, and like you hear like seashells and seagulls or whatever, you hear birds, like it sounds like a beach. Like, just, I love that so much. It really increased the score here to an 8.5. Story 9.5. We got such great backstory on these characters. It took Zuko from being a whiny prince brat to being one of the most conflicted characters I think we've seen, and it made him so much more three-dimensional. Like, if you compare how we feel about Zuko now to the first episode, I mean, it is, and he hasn't even grown much since then. Really hasn't grown much at all. But we know so much more about him now. This story was so great. And also we learn more about Aang and how he ran away and how he's still dealing with guilt. And like I said, the whole thing about destiny. So I did give it a very high 9.5
Very
out of 10
hefty.
here. And also,
Very hefty.
I just like that that there was multiple arcs just within this one episode. Then on to memorable, give it a 9. I mean, it is memorable for the fact that it is the scene that defines Zuko. That line that I love so much of, "You will learn respect and suffering will be your teacher." Like, I just love that line so much. And Zuko just begging for his life. Mark Hamill just killed it in that scene. So a 9 for memorable. What you got to say, Sean? 9.1 out of 10 for this episode.
I have so many things to say. So many things. Okay. You know what? Let's go through the ratings first, and I'll finish.
Yeah.
Audio visual. I gave it an 8. There is lots of good imagery. Not as much in like the sound effect or music department. Nothing really stood out to me. I might have hit it too low because there's lots of cool imagery. You get to see bits and pieces of like, oh my goodness, like 3 out of the 4 bending nations, I guess. So there's just great variety of color and detail. Like I said, not a ton in the audio department. I kind of forgot about the scene with Zuko, but in that score in there, I can't even remember it in my head. But nothing stood out too much. No great action here or anything. So I gave it an 8. Story. This isn't a story to me. This is 2 flashbacks.
What? Oh my gosh.
This is 2 flashbacks that should have happened in another episode. Like, this is...
Wow.
It's not that it's bad. It's just, it's like a pamphlet or like a synopsis. That's what this episode felt like, reading off a synopsis of a backstory or like an intro sequence. This whole thing here is something that could be summed up in like the intro sequence to an episode or so. Like it's not that it doesn't do anything for me. I really appreciate hearing about it. It makes me come in touch a little closer with both characters in a very meaningful way. I do like the arcs of all the other characters, but in the end, all that other stuff, nothing around it matters except for these 2 little bitty flashbacks that if you really pare them down, there's not a lot to them, and they're not really standalone stories by themselves, and I don't know. It's a cartoon. I want some action. I want beginning to end in 30 minutes, and like I said, I don't know. It's not very satisfying, even if it is informative. It's not that it's not enjoyable, and that's what bumped it up. If anything, for me, is that it's still very enjoyable and very touching. But I don't. If you recommended to me, or if I'm recommending to anybody else, like what's some of your favorite Avatar episodes to watch, or what's good stories, like this is nowhere on my list for that. Because first of all, out of context, it would make no sense to anybody. But second of all, just because nothing in here really captures the spirit of a good Avatar episode or a good Avatar story. I don't think. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a good episode.
I'm gonna let you finish. But actually, I shouldn't quote Kanye West. Never mind.
Are you about to quote Kanye West in our podcast?
Because he says,
"Go ahead."
He says, "I'm gonna let you finish." To that, when he interrupted Taylor Swift that time.
Oh, I got you.
But anyway, and Barack Obama called him a jackass for it, and that's why he hates Barack.
That's funny. But yeah, let that sway your entire political belief system, Kanye. Nice work. Good. That's being a good American right there.
Well, yeah, okay. I'm gonna let you finish with your memorable.
Memorable. I gave it an 8.
I'm gonna let you finish, but The Storm is one of the best. I'm kidding. Keep going. I mean, I'm not kidding, but
I'm gonna let you finish, but let me tell you why you're wrong first. I think we're in an excitable mood. It's voting week right now. We all voted, and everybody's very volatile right now. Memorable. It is very memorable because it is so informative. These things that you're learning and feeling, they permeate. I mean, every other episode. There again, if anything, I was probably a little too harsh on the audio visual in the memorable. I could have bumped either of those up. Story, I'm happy where I'm at, just because I don't see it there.
Shouldn't be.
7.4 overall. All things considered, that's pretty generous in terms of where it falls in the rest of my scores, in the rest of my episodes.
You must have just really hated this disc of Avatar.
I did. It was sorry. This is so the wait. Yeah, it was this one because it has Great Divide, This one,
Yeah.
Jet, and
Jet,
Waterbending Scroll.
waterbending
Those are the
scroll.
four. Because I'm on DVD, I don't have a cool Blu-ray, and yeah, that's the disc, and it sucks. No, I'm telling you, I didn't hate this. It just, if you're asking me to evaluate the story quality of this episode, I was like, I would never tell somebody else to just go watch this episode, or even in the context of the show, I would never like pick it out as a favorite episode. It just has a couple of good little pieces in there. I don't know. All right, I'm finished. Go ahead,
All
Connie.
right. My question is, if you had to take the 20 most important episodes that tell the story of Avatar, would you put the storm in there?
Yes, important. Yes. Did you say 20 episodes? Did you say
Yeah.
top 10 or top 20?
I said 20.
I will give it top 20. That's pretty easy. Top 10, maybe.
I mean,
I think,
that's a third of the season.
yeah,
I think even
top 10 seems like a more reasonable question. I would say it's probably close.
it does. Yeah.
Uh,
It was like one of those polling questions that I'm just looking for
you're just
an
trying
answer that would.
No, even top 10, I would give you that it's close, but at the same time,
Okay.
at the same time, even if you don't get them in as emotional a way, I think you can absorb most of the details, or you can imply or infer most of the details throughout the rest of the series, even without this episode. Like I said, they may not be as touching or whatever, but you basically find out how that fight went down. You basically find out Zuko's not a horrible human. You basically find out Aang.
I think
like you can start to piece all this stuff together, even without this episode. But in terms of just being a very impactful 22 minutes, I would give you it's probably close to top 10. That's fine.
I think the Aang piece it will be easier to digest without it.
Yeah,
But
because
I
you
think
already
it's
kind of have that.
I think this
wrapped up.
episode you kind of do. Like, he ran away.
You maybe don't
You
know that it
know-
was because of sort of the family tearing.
You know he
do
didn't-
think it's because of
he
the
already-
Avatar pressure.
He already said he didn't want to be the Avatar in the first place. I mean, I guess you still don't know, like, oh, what happened? How did he get in that ball of ice?
You never
But I think the
understand
Zuko-
maybe that he feels like that because he disappeared, that he wasn't there. We didn't really touch on that. Because he disappeared, he wasn't there to help defend, and he feels like maybe he could have helped.
Yeah.
So that's important. You don't really hear that part at any other point, that he feels like he could have helped save his nation from the Fire Nation.
Yeah, but I think that I think this episode was really vital for Zuko's growth, and it was vital for the audience to want to root for Zuko.
Trying to prevent
guess-
making noise with your hands definitely made more
Yes,
noise.
that didn't.
That's all right. I'll
That did
edit this
not
part
work.
out. This part can go.
But yeah, so yeah, for me, this took me from not liking Zuko to being like, oh, I really hope Zuko one day comes around and maybe he can be a good guy. Like before this, no, like we have to beat Zuko. Like Zuko is the main antagonist. But this episode just opens him up to way more possibilities, I think, in the audience's view.
But we are only about 20% of the way in. It's too early. I don't want to have feelings for Zuko yet. Give me till like halfway through second season.
No, for me, I mean, this is the start of that. But for me, like, it was probably through early season 2, I was like, yes, Zuko, he'll eventually come around and he'll fight with Team Avatar. But then that didn't happen. But this seed, I think, is important. I mean, this plants the seed for, you wanting Zuko to come around later on.
Zuko gives you hope in this episode. That's what's really doing.
Hey, yeah.
I do have one more comment here that will probably feel a little distasteful, but whatever. So usually I vouch for Avatar as a series over The Legend of Korra, but one thing that Legend of Korra does way better, in my opinion, is the actual villains are better. I think there's better villains throughout Korra.
Yeah.
And I think this is an episode where maybe start to learn that Ozai, or where I start to realize that I don't necessarily care for Ozai as a villain, like just because he feels a little over the top villain for villain's sake, like
Yeah, yeah.
scarring his own son and sending him away, just and about to sacrifice a whole team of his a whole team of firebenders for the sake of greater strategy, and all those things that make me feel like, all right, maybe Ozai's not the deepest villain, or not my favorite villain. And so that's
and even Azula, who I love, and the main, so Zhao is the main antagonist for season 1, or he's the secondary antagonist, but he is clearly an evil person.
He's obviously
not
a bad
interesting.
guy, whereas we already have some hope for Zuko just because Iroh is there at minimum.
Yep. But Zhao is the least interesting person.
Yes,
Azula,
he's
even though she's
flat.
amazing, yeah, he is really flat. And even though Azula is amazing as a character, she is just pure evil, and she's just evil for the sake of being evil. Even though I love her in the Search, she gets.
She's probably
through the
the
end of the
best villain
season,
in
she kind of
this-
has a growth.
She's probably the best villain in this series.
Yes, no, she's definitely the best villain
At least
in
the
this
most
series.
interesting, I think.
Oh yeah, she definitely is by far. And her story with Zuko is in her arc, which is a fall from grace arc.
Yes.
That's
That's part of what does it. That's what makes her feel like she has more depth and interest than Ozai.
Yes, yeah. And I highly recommend reading The Search because it delves into that even more.
Chris, I can't read books.
I know.
Just kidding. I will read books. I'm reading books. I'm reading comic books right now. No, it's not.
And then Iroh, and then Ozai, of course, is just mustache twirling kind of levels of villainy.
It's not even evil for the sake of evil. It's just like evil for the sake of power. Like it's
Yes, yeah. I was thinking that same thing. Yeah.
I love
like I'm stronger than you, so I should be ruling you. Like you are inferior. Your people are inferior. That's why they deserve to die.
That is
like it's all about power with him.
Late 80s video game logic when there wasn't enough room on a Nintendo cartridge for a better story is what that feels like. So, long story short, I will almost always defend Avatar over Korra. Just debate for a different day, but this is one episode where I start to see, you know what? Korra's got way better villains, and that was maybe the most memorable part of this episode, outside of the obvious things, I guess, for me. So, all things considered, it rounds out pretty normally. That kind of falls in the middle, maybe upper middle of where our stuff is, and it's my fault. I'll take the blame for that, but I stand by what I said.
That's okay.
If I could change any ratings, I would change the audio visual and the memorable. I'd probably give them both a little boost. I kind of forgot about
if
the
I could
scene with Zuko,
change,
but I would not change my story score. It is not a story. It's not one I would
my
recommend.
story, I was fine with the 9.5 on story.
That's
Audio
steep.
visual,
At a 50
I completely
weight,
understand.
That story is steep.
I completely understand the grade you gave for audio visual because there's no
There's no action. There's
really
no fights.
great. Yeah, there's no action and stuff. But that Zuko scene just did it for me. So
I gotta be honest. I kind of forgot about that one. And when you say it, I know it's powerful and potent and everything, but it happens quick if you're not paying attention. Like if I was riding an exercise bike or something, I missed the impact. So that's important. I'll give you that. Long story short, it's still a good episode. There's a lot of real good information. As you mentioned, maybe if there's a theme to this episode, it's just character arcs, in a good way for everybody. You can't not watch it as part of the whole series. Obviously, I said it just maybe doesn't appeal to me the same way it does to other people, and that's fine.
clearly,
I liked the waterbending scroll, so what do I know? almost exclusively because there was pirates. That was my whole logic there. So anyway, good episode, but we do get to move on to a different disc, and I'm pretty excited about that. I don't even remember what's coming on the next disc.
I know exactly what's coming next. It is
give me a teaser.
Great episode.
A great episode.
It is the Blue Spirit.
Oh, okay. That's. Ooh. I'm gonna go off the top of my head here and say that's one of my favorite episodes of the series.
Oh.
In my top 10 favorite. I don't say important or anything, so I haven't thought that hard about it.
The only reason why I know it's exactly. Yeah. The reason why I know it's exactly after this because of the storm, Sokka and Katara get sick.
Oh yeah, man. There's that
Yeah.
episode packs so much. Is that a 2-part episode?
Nah, it's a one part episode.
That packs so much into one episode. All these things going on in my mind. I'm so excited. All right, so next one. Yeah, that's gonna be a good one for me. Sorry, spoiler alert. Anyway, join us next time. Probably next week. Yes, and then the following week, no, because the following week will be Thanksgiving. So next week on, following week,
No.
not so much.
Dang, the following week is Thanksgiving?
It feels early this year, I think,
Okay.
because the 1st of November was a Thursday, so feels early.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Kind of wish I still worked at Payless to figure out the financial plans on that. Anyway.
I, I mean, I oftentimes wish that I still worked there, but not for financial planning reasons. But anyway, yeah, thanks for stopping by.
Door.
Good discussion. First episode where we've had, I guess, like we always have our differences. First episode where there's a real
This was
sense of
a
disagreement. So that's kind of exciting.
yeah.
Let's pick a fight.
I can't wait to do the analysis on all of our episodes
You'll be
to see
surprised
like
at
which
where
episodes
this
we disagreed the
episode.
most on.
You will be surprised where this episode falls overall for you. I'm excited for a top 5 episodes of season 1 or something like that. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Or maybe we'll just
Yeah.
do like an episode rehash. Like, hey, here's our each of us gives our top 2 or 3 scores, our bottom 2 or 3 scores, and the biggest differential. We'll just like a season 1 water recap kind of deal. That'd be cool. Or maybe it wouldn't.
Yeah.
But it'd be worth a try. Whatever. How do you know till you try? Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Chris, thanks for calling over. And I will talk to you next week.
Cool. 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 Cool.